I think that we need to get started. There's a challenging agenda this afternoon, and so we would like to expedite the process. I'd like to kick off our meeting with an adapted passage from Eric Walker Wickstrom's book, Serving with Grace. Wickstrom is a Unitarian minister. He's also a musician and served as a music director and has worked in recent years for the Unitarian Universalist Association. Before this meeting gets underway, check in with yourself. How do you feel? Does anything that you envision make you anxious, excited, challenged, disinterested? Do you notice any feelings in your body, such as tightness in your shoulders or your jaw, or a roiling in your belly, independent of the food? Maybe you feel a lightness in your forehead and an enlivening uptick in your heart rate. Discovering how you feel while thinking about the upcoming meeting can have tremendous benefits. For one thing, it can help prepare you so that when the meeting proper gets underway, you respond rather than react. We should all strive to bring a mindful consciousness to the meeting so that we can deal with the issues in front of us rather than projecting onto them all of our past associations and our future hopes and fears. What is it like to be with this group of people working on these issues at this time of transition and uncertainty? What are the questions and opportunities raised by these business items in light of the larger spirit and mission of First Unitarian Society? Very often our reactions are colored by so much of what has nothing to do with the issues at hand. Our feelings about the person who's making a proposal, for instance, or something that upset us as we drove here this morning. Outside influences might lead us to argue against something that on another day and presented by someone else we might actually support. We don't have any power over how others act, yet we do have quite a bit of control over our own actions if we become fully conscious. So let us all strive to engage with the work that follows from the perspective of our highest, our deepest, and our most aware selves.
All right, thank you, Michael. Hello, everyone. My name is Joe Kramer. I'm the president of our Board of Trustees. If you haven't already signed in, if you could possibly sign in, and maybe we could actually pass the sign-in sheet around for those who forgot, so you don't have to stand up. We have quite a bit to cover, as Michael mentioned, at today's meeting. We have 4 motions. One of the more exciting parts of the meeting is the open question, and we'll get a little bit more into the substance around that, but that helps we, the board, chart as to what the vision and future of FUS will look like. We'll be meeting some new staff. We'll be giving updates on our task forces, teams, and committees. There's a lot of things that have been happening, and even a lot more things that are going to be happening in the future that we'll talk about. And then that will be the end of the meeting. It'll be great. So it should be interesting. So first, we would like to approve the minutes from our previous meeting on June 4th. Could I have a member move? Okay, so Rob Savage is moving. Do we have a member second is Gail? Hands. Bliss, sorry. Thanks, Gail. And then we can put it to the vote. All in favor of approving the minutes from our last meeting, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right. Passes. Thank you very much. So next up is the open question, and Kelly is going to be hustling back and forth because she's going to be helping me with this. But this is really something that, again, as a board, part of our task, and we've been going through this process, is to create our visions of ministry. Around that, we create a strategic plan. Around that, we actually put together goals and milestones that we want to reach, and then we dive even deeper into that as to how we're going to accomplish that. So to that end, we've already had a SWOT analysis retreat with the board and committee members, where we went through the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats as we see it in our parish. And now our next step really is to start looking at what is our vision. We have 3 visions in ministry, and we want to see if we're going to be changing them at all. And really around that now is how we answer this upcoming question. So, Kelly.
Great, thank you, Joe. So again, let me add my welcome and thank you for all of you being here today. If you haven't ever been a part of this process before, let me add to what Joe said about this open question process comes from our policy governance. And this is the congregation's chance to let the board know where you would like to see the congregation moving in the future. This is your chance to have input into those visions of ministry that Joe mentioned. Open questions are about conversation. So before the board looks at our current 3 visions of ministry and says, these are great for this year, let's keep going, or they say, we really need to change the 3rd one, or whatever they say, they need to hear from you before they can do that. And with all of the changes and transitions coming in the next few years, you all know that changes are coming, right? That's not a shocker. It's an opportunity for you to let us know what is important to you in the coming years, personally, and also in your connection to this community. So our question today inquires deeply into growth, your personal growth. Also, it calls upon the purpose of this congregation. So how do you want to grow as a person, and how can FUS partner with you on that? So when I look at this question, I wonder what is important to you. I think about, what are your interests? What are your learnings? Where is your curiosity right now? How do you want to grow? And then how can we help you with that? What can we do to help make sure that that happens for you? So we're going to break you up into smaller groups. Before we do that and have our facilitators stand up so we see how many groups we can have, I want to make sure we don't have any clarifying questions either about the process or about the question itself.
I brought the sign-up-in sheet in here. Right, and it's being passed on the side there. So we need to just keep passing that. If you haven't signed in yet, please do it. And don't sign in for anybody else, please. Just your own name.
Here. Hey, Philadelphia politics. You sign in lots of people. That's where I can. Any questions about the open question? Okay, can we have our facilitators stand up so we see how many we have? Monica, are you one? No, okay. March, Matthew, are you one? I had in my head that you were one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Hi, Mike. 9. 9 with Mike. Joe, you're one?
Yes.
Okay, so
and we
we're
have a 10th right there. He's just
perfect. So we're going to try to break you into 10 groups. If you would cluster with the people around you in groups of 8, and let's see what happens. So move your chairs, look around you, find 7 others. find it. Okay. So as you know, it is noisy in here. No shocker. If you would like, your group can move out into the commons. Your group can move across the way into the library. You could go down at one of the tables in the religious education end. I will make sure we find all of you. Is there any group who needs a facilitator? We're going to give you 20 minutes to have this conversation in your group. Is there any group still in need of a facilitator? Do we have any random facilitators? Any floating facilitators? Julie Swanson, can I recruit you? Come over here. Okay. You need one as well? Okay, and Monica, we need one more.
All right, everyone, we're going to be wrapping up in just a few minutes. Okay. If you could just wrap up in a few minutes. So facilitators, what we're going to be asking is for each group to share about 3 different ideas. Now we're going to be typing up all of these, and we're going to be talking about everyone's individual suggestions at the board meeting at this coming Wednesday. But we'll just highlight the top 3 for our full discussion. Did you all pick a... top 3? Are we ready? I think we're ready. Okay, I think what we're going to do is we will go to each of the groups and then have the facilitator just give the top 3 ideas that the group talked about. No order of appearance or anything, just sort of give us a flavor. And again, just to highlight, so the facilitators, what we're asking you to do is type up all of the responses. You didn't know about that, but type up the responses and email them over to Kelly, because she's going to be compiling them for the board meeting. We'll get the sign-up sheet. Yeah, and if the sign-up sheet is someplace, if it can just keep moving and signing, that'd be great. It looks like we have 100 people or so here. So Rob Savage, your group, you're going to report in first.
Well, hello? Okay, it's on. I want you to know that my group exceeded expectations, and I have way too many to do, but I'll only do 3. One was we need to increase the opportunities for conversations among members so we can learn better from each other.
I'm going to stop you right there. Were there any suggestions as to how to do that?
That wasn't our task.
Okay, that's fair.
So
I'm curious,
we did have suggestions.
This is a personal thought, because I've been trying to figure this out myself, and I think this is important for us to talk about. No, well, not yet.
All right. I'm his memory for the moment. The suggestion was that we have a space where people can come and talk in between. That's not just the crossing where, you know, we're all kind of busy, but that we might have a circle that meets, over here in the library.
Okay. I asked.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Well, I should just give her the mic and let her read these, because then she'll figure them out. She can't read my writing. The other is to improve awareness of what is going on, no, I'm trying to read what I wrote here. I'm going to have a tough time typing this. And one of those suggestions was to do it with improved use of social media. I was asked, email? What's that? By somebody who's younger than us. So, anyway, and the third thing was to think about addressing the life changes as they're coming along in either an adult RE program or groups to facilitate discussions. So when your kid goes away to college and you're now an empty nester, when you're retiring, etc. So those were the three things that we came up with.
Excellent.
And lots of suggestions, So.
That you'll type up. Thank you. Julie.
So there's quite a bit of diversity, so I'm not going to say top ideas, although where there was maybe the most point of convergence in this group was around social and racial justice. Social and racial justice, that better? Attention to making sense of what is happening in the world was one of the way that was framed. Interest in contemplative practices, which got into a discussion about services and exploring more innovative, creative ways to engage in service together, with a specific example of the UU Musicians Network worship service that was different. And maybe if I get one more, engaging with the wider UU community, specifically so that we can learn together, but on maybe a broader lens.
All right. Thank you very much. Oh, yeah. Sorry. All right, Susan.
Okay, hi. So my group I'm going to do the three things, and then first the personal experience, and then the how could FUS respond. Our group strongly felt that we would like to be able to hold our convictions lightly enough to be able to refrain from judging others, or to be better able to refrain from judging others. And ways in which FUS might be able to do that included finding better ways to understand people who are strongly different from us. And in particular, the idea was perhaps FUS as an organization could invite speakers who are not already in the choir or to the left of the choir. So that was one. A second one is that we have a felt personal need for more social time within the FUS community, and with this social time being outside of the context of service opportunities. And ways in which FUS might be able to do that would be to give us more, foster more social opportunities where there's an opportunity for genuine social interaction and not just focus on social action, for example. For example, the men's group that meets monthly was given as a good example of this already underway, as are the Saturday potluck sessions that some people go to. Also, the idea of taking the church off-site, meet each other someplace else, in a coffee house or something like that. Also, an idea is to start small group congregational response so that folks can sit down after a service, kind of like what happens at the Saturday potlucks for groups of 7 or 8 people who want to talk about the sermon. And the third personal felt need was more time to feel centered and to avoid burnout on the kinds of things that a few people who are very much involved, they're experiencing burnout. FUS could help by fostering a more even distribution of leadership. In other words, we are so big, people find it easy to hide. And also there's another attribute of some of us, which is that if it needs to be done, the same people keep stepping up. And that leads to burnout. And so what we need to do is to find ways to thank people who have been doing stuff, give them permission to step away and be termed out. So.
Excellent. Thank you. Doug? Chip? Oh, I'll come back over there. Sorry. Hey, Carol.
Hello, I am Carol Rowan, and our group, I will summarize 3 things. We were a lot about community and food. So 3 of my highlights from my notes, which I'll type up and share, is to put community into practice through food-related activities. Community meals or sponsoring them, or maybe more frequent types of potlucks, not only on the Saturday service. As also related to Rob's group over there, we discussed maybe making table space available to sit down and have meaningful discussions after services, as opposed to just standing space, which is easier to flit in and out of without making a meaningful connection. We also briefly discussed spiritual growth through visits to other faith communities, and also a way to help facilitate communication and community among those folks who can't get out of the house as easily, perhaps something with a blog on our website.
All right. Thank you, Carol. Now, John.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Joe. In our group, we summarized some 3 points. We came up with outreach to other congregations and other faiths. Maybe think about a joint service, projects we could work in the community with other groups would be worthwhile. And we also thought that many people have different faith spiritual practices within our UU community. And if we find a forum for these people to share their spiritual practices and how they are actually actively serving the community would be very good. And continuing to create opportunities for growth and with more drop-in classes, and perhaps advertising them on a more continual basis in the Red Floor handout every week. Just making sure that they're publicized broadly and people are aware of them.
Excellent. Thank you, John. Matthew.
Thank you. Our group had a lot of energy around one growth goal in particular, and that was developing deeper or stronger small group connections. And there were a few different ways that the group thought FUS could help partner on that. So one example would be retreats led by FUS staff. Another example was articulating and building some energy around Madison geographic neighborhoods within the congregation. And then a last example was making an intentional effort to create relationships between longtime and new members.
Excellent. Thank you, Matthew. Maureen? Oh, Maureen? Yeah, let's do Maureen then March.
Okay. So yeah, a lot of your points are echo what my group said already. The thing that emerged that hasn't been said yet is that there's an underrepresented group in FUS, which in the room you often see children, parents of children and younger adults are not represented. It isn't that they don't feel welcome, it's that maybe we've put some competing things in place for them. For example, right now there's an organizing meeting for young adults, and they're going to be torn between which thing they ought to attend. So some better meeting, some better calendaring, and a little bit more attention to how we might not be serving everybody the best and how we could. And the opportunity that they would like is to continue to see childcare offering anytime that we organize something for the congregation as a whole. And a lot of people who are newish did find our suggestion helpful, which is that they found a smaller group to belong to, but you have to be really, really persistent was the thing that was kind of daunting for people. And is there anything else you'd like me to add? No. Music. Oh, everybody loves music. Everybody loves our music program, and most people in my group found that was their small group. People here for as many as 40 years.
Okay, so I'm March Schweitzer, and in my group, it was dominated by a group of seniors. And they thought that building a community that is always there for you, regardless of your life stage, was especially important. Support for each other. To grow by becoming more involved, either in social justice. We provide a safe place so people who are not necessarily comfortable with working in social justice can do that. By becoming a more spiritual community and improving our spiritual quality of life. And also by getting to know the community better and creating mindful connections.
I'm Mike. Our group discussed, one of the main themes that kept popping up was finding a way to make deeper connections with people, whether it's through opportunities outside, through volunteering, serving others, or through conversations with people here after services. That was probably the main one that we got a lot, was more deeper connections with people here, building a community, a genuine community. Another one was, where did it go? A mix of things to do for people inside and outside the church community, and a way to learn how to relate to yourself and others and have your ideas challenged and your worldview expanded. I think, am I forgetting anything here in our group? I mean, those are the three big ones. There are a lot of other things we covered, but those were the themes that popped up most to me.
So the three things that our group decided we'd like to report back to you. First one is provide opportunities for sustained social justice actions, especially at the local level. Fostering caring for each other and supporting each other. And also connecting with other UU congregations in the area. And the third one was keep looking at and intensifying our examining ourselves in terms of white supremacy culture.
And that was Dort. That was not the voice of God, just being.
He says that because I could not tell where it was coming from.
So our group's ideas clustered around two themes. One was ways to connect with others in the congregation. There have been, and an idea that I thought was really interesting that came up was musical offerings to connect that aren't the choir. So we'll have a new music director who will be expected to fulfill all of the ideas that have been raised as we're collecting new ideas, as well as carry on everything else that has happened in our music program before. And if we want a person to actually take a job here that is doable, that we might, as an organization, do some things musically connecting among ourselves without making them be part of the new music director's job position. The second big theme was welcoming and hoping for a variety of expression, not just from the pulpit, but the idea that we might each better to be able to understand different worldviews through hosting perhaps multicultural events. Somebody had mentioned a Mennonite church where Sikhs, Jews, everyone else is welcome. So why not host events like that here with a greater diversity of people, as well as invite speakers who don't sing from our particular hymnal?
Thank you. That's it?
That's everybody.
All right, well, thank you very much, everyone. So facilitators, just a reminder, if you could type up the responses, send them to Kelly, and then she's going to compile them, and we're going to discuss them at the board meeting this coming Wednesday. So next on our agenda is new staff, and these are going to be self-introductions. So TK, I believe you're in the room. Let's find out who you are.
Hi, I'm the new ministerial intern, and if you want to know more about me, come to my 3 sermons next week. Thanks.
Wow. Well, wait. Now we have to attend. Florence. Hi, Florence. Haven't met you yet. Hello.
Hello, I'm Florence Jessup. I'm going to be your new office manager starting in early October. I'm moving here from Portland, Oregon. I have been a UU for 35 years, and this is the 3rd congregation I will have served in some sort of administrative capacity.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, so our first motion is regarding wedding officiants. Pardon? No, wait, I was going to read it first and then ask. So the parish approves ministerial intern T.K. Browning to conduct weddings on behalf of FUS from September 15th, 2017 to August 31st, 2018, and lay wedding officiants, Nancy, I think you are? Yeah, Nancy Vetter-Schultz, but she isn't. Oh, okay, sorry. And Vicki Jones for 2 years, starting September 15th, 2017. Will someone move the motion, please? Move. Lorna? Oh, I'll get it to you. Elizabeth Barrett, second. And all in favor? All opposed? Good. That would be. Congratulations. Thank you, everyone. Now, motion 2. This is in regards to the Minister Emeritus, and Dort is going to come up and help explain what this means, and I believe Kelly's going to fill in a little bit.
Hi. It's my great pleasure to introduce this motion to you. Minister Emeritus is not a foregone conclusion. It's something that we as a congregation confer on a minister where we want to. We're voting on it now because UUA requirements are that in order for a minister emeritus to have all the privileges of that office at the next GA, we have to take that vote at least 6 months before. So we have a preamble. The Reverend Dr. Michael A. Schuler is retiring from the position of senior minister at the First Unitarian Society of Madison, Wisconsin. He has served this congregation long and well. His years of leadership and service have contributed to a period of unprecedented growth in membership. He has affirmed, loved, and respected us. His prophetic witness on issues of gender equality, gay rights, racism, civil liberties has raised consciousness and inspired effective action in both church and community. His probing reflections have provided generous measures of wisdom, insight, and challenged us to be our best selves. His pastoral care has helped many come through times of transition, loss, and stress with wholeness restored. His energy and hands-on work have helped implement the expansion, renewal, and greening of the church's buildings and campus. So whereas all of this is true, therefore be it resolved, the parish resolves that the First Unitarian Society of Madison confers upon the Reverend Dr. Michael A. Schuler the title of Minister Emeritus and grants to him all the rights and privileges thereof.
Now, first, could we have a motion to move? In a second? All right. And then, oh. Yep, just all right, got it. Okay, sorry, so Tom Heine in the second. Thank you. Any questions? Because I do believe we have one. Here, I want to get you the mic. Can you come up, please? Here, Nancy.
I agree with all the whereases, but I think before we can vote on this, we need to know what the Minister Emeritus position is, all the rights and privileges thereof. Because in having a new minister come in, or hopefully a ministerial team come in, we will need to know what the limits and responsibilities of the Minister Emeritus are in relation to the people who are then in charge.
Sure.
So I would appreciate if somebody could give a description of what that is.
Sure.
Hi. Good question, Nancy. So the rights and privileges, as Dorit mentioned, this needs to be done before General Assembly because when you're the minister of a congregation, you're automatically a delegate to General Assembly. If you're no longer serving a congregation, you are no longer automatically a delegate. So Minister Emeritus is automatically a delegate to General Assembly. So every year we get our little packet and it's got our delegate cards, and the first three are Michael Schuler, Kelly Crocker, and Max Gabler. So we have our delegate cards. So Michael will be able to be a delegate at General Assembly. The biggest, I'm just going to be honest with you, rights and privileges thereof. I will write a letter, if this is approved, to the Unitarian Universalist Association saying, on this Sunday, this is our resolution, this was our motion. Michael is now our Minister Emeritus. He no longer has to pay our yearly Minister Association dues. So I'm asking him to pay mine from now on. No, I'm not. So that's really one of the biggest. In terms of relationship, Michael and I will craft a covenant that we will follow. The UU Ministers Association has a giant book of ethics that we must follow. One of the sections is on what does it mean to be a minister emeritus, and it spells out really clearly that he and I need to have this covenant, which is like a letter of agreement or understanding of how he is going to relate to the congregation. And so that'll be something that we work out. That's something that he had with Max when he came. And so when a new minister arrives, that'll be reviewed to make sure that the new minister and myself and Michael are all in agreement about what that relationship looks like. Did I answer it, Nancy? Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Oh, yeah.
What happens to Max Gabler's position? Does that go away?
No. You are Minister Emeritus until your death. So we'll have two, which is not an uncommon thing. Elizabeth?
You know, I heard something about ministers when they retire and become emeritus, they get to walk at General Assembly and participate in the serving of the living tradition.
Right.
Which is going to be when and where? June 22nd.
I knew that she knew is why I was pausing, because I was like, well, Elizabeth, it's always in June. It is June 22nd to the 27th?
The whole General Assembly is the 20th through the 24th. So I think Michael walks on that Thursday,
Right, so the Service of the Living tradition is on the Thursday evening of General Assembly. It's in Kansas City, Missouri. And the Service of the Living tradition is all about ministers. So the ministers who have newly received preliminary fellowship, which Julie Brock, our intern from last year, passed the MFC. Yep, so Julie will be walking across the stage as a newly minted minister. And then there's the folks who have received final fellowship. And then there's the folks who are retiring. And then they also have a time to recognize those who have died in the past year. So Michael, we don't know, he hasn't decided yet if he's going to go, but he would be available to walk across the stage and be recognized as a retired minister. Jim Jager.
Does the emeritus take effect immediately, or is it simply upon his actual date of retirement?
That's a great question. If he's a minister emeritus as of today, is he going to stop working? Because I'm in trouble.
Just looking at me.
I'm looking at Joe, Dorit.
We'll figure that out, because that's a great question.
We will figure that out. I think we need to confer it today.
I think he might know.
Oh, there he is. Oh my God, you heard everything I said. All right, so he said it's as of his retirement, which is midnight on June 30th, 2018. One of us is clinging here, and it's not him.
Any other questions? All right, then.
Okay.
Let's put it to the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Every now and then I just want to say, no. Congratulations, Michael. Thank you. So motion number 3, Friends of the Meeting House President. So we've recently updated the charter for the Friends of the Meeting House, which is an entity that operates outside of FUS, but with oversight from the FUS board and our membership. And one of the covenants we have in there is for any president of the Friends of the Meeting House has to be agreed upon by the general membership. So the Friends have put forth the name of Rose Detmer. Rose, are you here? Yeah, oh, hi, right there. And does anyone want to make a motion? Okay, that's March. And, okay, you got him? Okay. There you go. All right, so all in favor? Aye. All opposed? That passes unanimously. Thank you. Congratulations, Rose. All right, so task force and committee updates. I'm just going to run through just what some of them have been up to because we do have a lot of change this year. So we're going to have a lot of task forces. We're going to have a lot of teams. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to volunteer for another 3 slides, but then we'll talk about that. So first, the Music Directors Search Task Force. Our chair is Doug Hill. Been doing a great job. We kicked this off just about 4 weeks ago. With these task forces, the board always asks for milestones and goals and timelines to make sure that they're, especially when it comes to, we know Dan is leaving in May, we're going to need to have a replacement by then. And so we just make sure that they stay on task. And Doug's team is ahead of task, and they've actually started posting the position. You can see this on fusmadison.org as to the job description that they have put up. So that's rolling. They are going to be collecting resumes for the next several weeks, and then the process will continue, and we'll continue to update you through the red floors and the newsletter and other means as to how things are happening. But they've been working quite hard. And the one nice thing I like about this team is we really strive to have a nice, diverse group. So it's not just people who have taken part in music, but also people who just appreciate music. It's just not people that maybe retired and have more time to do things like this. We actually have people who are working parents who have young children, and they are part of this process, so we're getting their input. Doug and his team has had a table, if you haven't noticed, for the last several weeks out here just to talk to everyone, just to see anyone who's interested in sort of influencing what type of music director and the shape of the music that we have here. They're also collecting on email. You can email Doug if you have any suggestions or things that you think are important. They've been getting a lot of suggestions that they're compiling, and that's all being taken into account as they find our new music director. So thank you, Doug. You're doing, yes, Elizabeth? And there's an online questionnaire. Thank you very, very much. So. Inter-Minister Search Task Force. So this is the group that is going to be looking for an interim minister. And this is going to be a group that, because of the process, there's quite a lot of upfront work of going through, filling in information, and deciding what type of interim minister that we want. And then there becomes a very short time window, I believe in April, where we make the selection. And so this task force, it's going to be sort of, if you get involved, it's going to be, it's quite vital. And at the very beginning, there's going to be a few more meetings. Then there will, at the middle of it, it will kind of just sort of taper off just a little, but stay active, and there will be a number of things to do. But then it's going to pick up again at the end when we have to make the selection. So Rob Savage has agreed to chair, which is great. I appreciate that. And anyone who would like to join, please email Rob. That's his email address. If you forget any of these email addresses, you can always email me at fusprez@gmail.com. I try to check that as often as possible. But also with the interim minister search, we're going to try to look for a lot of variety as much as possible. I mean, someone mentioned that within the open question. That's something that we're cognizant of, and we're trying to get more of a diverse group around within governance and also around these task forces. So if you're interested, please email Rob. The capital campaign. So we're going to have some kickoff events coming up at the end of September that they will be happening soon after service. But the $3 million capital campaign, they're in the midst of a quiet portion of the campaign, which is going extremely well. And I've been forbidden to say how well because they want you to find out on September 30th and October 1st. We're going to be looking for more members. This is an opportunity for anyone who wants to get involved. There is a wide range of volunteers that we really need. And I'm going to put Matthew on the spot because you're nodding. Do you want to come up and just explain some of the positions and help that you would like throughout this? Matthew Doyle Olson is
Thanks, Joe.
the chair.
Off the top of my head, the few different places where we could use help would be with events, whether you want to help with the kickoff or we're going to have a celebration and a thank you probably in January. I know we could use more help there. Also with member-to-member outreach, so if you're interested in leading a hike or hosting a dinner or something else creative like that to help share knowledge about the capital campaign, that's a place where we could use some help. And then some more straightforward things like tabling and also getting information into our database and getting mailings out. So feel free to email me up there at the address up there if you're interested in helping at all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Matthew. Yeah, and any help would be great, and it's really a nice, wide, diverse amount of volunteer opportunities that are available for the capital campaign, and it's vital for what we are trying to do. The next, I'm going to invite up Molly Kelly, if you could, just to give us a quick update. We heard a little bit at the services about the gala and how things are going, but Molly can give us a little more.
Okay, thank you, Joe. The gala, as was mentioned, is on Friday, the 13th. It is going to be a celebration of Frank Lloyd Wright's 150th birthday, as well as raising money for FUS, and of course the goal of putting a new roof on this building. We are looking for people to attend, and already attendance or ticket sales have started, so thank you to those who have said yes, you'd love to come. We're also looking for sponsors, so if you or your business or your family would like to sponsor the event, we would appreciate that. And volunteers, if you would like to help out, either in the planning process or that evening. And then finally, auction items. We're only going to be doing like 5 or so live auction items that evening. We wanted to center around either Frank Lloyd Wright or an experience that is kind of unique, such as having a private chef come into your home to cook a dinner for a group of your best friends, that sort of thing. Those things tend to go very well. So if you know of any chefs that are willing to do something like that, or personal experiences, please do let me know. And if you ever have any questions about the event, please let me know that at mollyk@fus.org. You know that, fusmadison.org. October, did I say September? Oh, okay, October 13th, which is...
I thought I got the date wrong.
All right.
Okay, we're all good, thank you.
And I do have invitations out on the table.
All right, thank you, Molly. All right, so the sanctuary team, as you all know, we voted to be a sanctuary congregation. And the first meeting tonight for the Dane Sanctuary Coalition is at 7 p.m. at Madison Christian Community. That's just on Old Sauk Road, just a couple of blocks before you cross under the Beltline. It's on the right-hand side if you're driving that direction. The sanctuary team is looking for members, so they're collecting names of potential volunteers if we were to have someone who would be housed here. So we are trying to find some folks that will help out, and Dort is collecting those names along with furniture. They're looking to collect some furniture now, so they're prepared, and they actually have a place to store it until it's needed. So if you have bits of furniture, just email Dort, and she's coordinating all of those. Anything else? I think that was pretty much it. So it's going well on that. A new task force, sustainability task force. So this is something that just, for the last 6 months, as we've been talking about the roof and learning more about the roof, it's come out that it seems like a number of our members have a calling to increase our sustainability on our campus. And so to that end, the board decided to create the sustainability task force. The first task is going to evaluate the feasibility of placing solar someplace on our campus. And if there is a feasible plan, present it to the parish for consideration. But then the second task after that is going to be looking at how do we become, as a congregation, more sustainable. There must be some creative ways that we can do different things to really sort of support what we all truly feel that we need to lessen our footprint. So if you have an interest in joining us, this is fresh off the presses. We just approved this last week. If you could just email me your interest and just some of your background, because again, we would like to have a nice diverse background on this group, and we'll put it together and get it rolling as fast as we can. Future task forces. I said we're going to have task force galore, and we're going to have more. We're going to need an interim period task force, and this is going to be a group that we'll bring together early next year that is going to help our interim minister discern what type of changes, what type of future we want to have within the congregation. It's going to be a fairly sizable task, and it's going to be very important. So it's really, again, helping the interim minister collect information and sort of calling information, disseminating it, and figuring out how we are going to communicate amongst each other as to what type of changes we might want to make to our congregation. Because just according to best practices, when you change your senior minister, everything is on the table. Everything. And this is, and I'm still even trying to come up with accepting the concept that maybe service is going to change a bit. So nothing is sacred around this, and the interim team is going to be helping to discern that. We'll also then, most likely early in 2019, so about a year and a half from now, put together a minister search task force. And this will be the group that will be doing the real heavy lifting of basically finding us a new minister. Now, the entire parish will come together and vote on who that person is, but this task force will have quite a bit of work around that to discern what type of person we would like to have and really start sorting through who the applicants are. We have some time, but I just want to put it out there. If anyone is thinking about getting involved, this is a great time to consider it, because not only do we have those task forces, but we also have our standing committees. So we have our nominations committee. Nominations is all about gathering who is interested in getting involved in governance and suggesting to the board as to who can make up these committees. I also have been asking Rob, who chairs this, it's natural for the past president to be the chair of the nominations. I've been asking Rob to start pulling together just names of interested people who want to get involved on a team, on a task force, what type of skills people have that they would like to bring to the community, because we would really like to start pulling in, as someone mentioned, just more people into the governance structure and how church runs, because we have a lot of people here who have a lot of great skills, and it'd be awesome if more of us would step up and donate them to us. And that's pretty much it. So just email Rob, I think. Rob, anything else you want to add to that? We all know Rob.
Actually, it just makes sense. It's written in our bylaws.
Yeah. 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 That's okay. So he's basically saying, yeah, it's mandatory for him to chair the nominations. So he was forced into it.
Each of these committees takes different kinds of skills and different kinds of commitment. Some of these meet every month. Some meet maybe quarterly. But at any rate, we really need to have good representation. It shouldn't all be people like me that are retired that are running these shows. There's a lot of real great skill out there. If you have questions, you can stop me up here after the service or call me up.
Nice. Yes, so and just to give you an idea, if you're on a committee, what I found, if you're a member of a committee, it's about a 5-hour a month commitment typically. Things like the interim, I want to say music, the interim minister search, it'll be a bit more at the beginning, a bit more at the end, probably in the middle, it'll be about 5 hours. If you're a chair of a committee, that's about a 10-hour a month commitment. If you're a part of the board, it ranges between 5 to 10 hours. If you're president of the board, it's 20 plus, usually within the month. Yeah, no, that's true. No, it's not 40. I do have a job. But it is very fun. The one thing I want to say, I was extremely reluctant to get involved in governance, because it's a whole saying about, you like church, but you want to see how it's actually made. And I got to say, it's learning more has made me appreciate our community all that much more. So it's been a great experience, and that's why I've been doing this now for 4 years. And I have a couple more years to go at least. Okay, now on to the fun part. So our last motion is around the structural repairs and the roof. Now, before I read the motion, I've been thinking about this a bit. I don't know if everyone saw my article in this month's newsletter, but just to go a little bit beyond that, when I was first told that we were going to need to replace our roof, and the extra costs that it was going to incur for us to actually follow a preservationist path, truthfully, the choice seemed clear to me. We have budget issues. We have a calling to expand our presence in the greater community, especially now. What is a material object, such as a roof, to those items? But then after attending the meeting, so we've been discussing this for about 6 months, we've been talking about it at board meetings, we've had parish forums, I started to realize the value that our physical buildings have for us as a community and also as individuals. If we're going to perform good in the world, and times do what it does feel like battle, especially nowadays, to really help others live the values that we truly hold, we need a home to come back to that is welcoming and nourishing. We need a place where we can rejuvenate, get our values back, get our faith back, and then go back out there. Past members have purposely made the same decision over and over and over. This is our spiritual home, and it's a very special building. That's what makes our community. We're proud of it. But more importantly, and this is what I keep coming back to, as you walk in this building, it nurtures you. If you don't notice, if you pay attention, you'll actually see that. I've started to see that a lot. I took it for granted until we started this whole conversation. So yes, our original building is a national landmark. It's known internationally as one of the most important works in Frank Lloyd Wright's repertoire. But most importantly, it is ours, and it reflects our history, and it embodies our future. So I, along with the Board of Trustees, because of this, are recommending that we continue our tradition with copper on top of the roof, and we fix the structural issues that have been there ever since the get-go, because we do believe that this structural fix is going to be the final improvement we need to make. So with that, would someone just make a motion? Got that? And Rob is seconding. And that enables any discussion at all. We have talked a lot about this. Thank you.
How will this decision affect the potential in the future of adding solar panels?
To that actual roof, it impacts it from the standpoint that we have pretty much decided we don't want to put solar on that part of the roof, but we have a lot of other flat roofs that we can put solar on that would keep everyone happy, basically. We also, and I remember last year we were looking at potentially putting up freestanding solar. And this is one thing I want the Sustainability Task Force to look into is what other options do we have? There's like Green Tomorrow that I belong to at my house where I pay extra for electricity. I don't have solar panels, but I'm helping others to actually have renewable energy. So that's just an example. So it does impact it. It takes it off the table for that area.
I just have a question. I need information. When we voted to approve the capital campaign, there were two things involved, the roof and a large sum of money to pay down the mortgage on the new building. And I just need to understand what we're voting on today, how that relates to those two different capital campaign initiatives.
Yeah, what we really, and Matthew can step up and if there's more to add to this. So what we're targeting from the $3 million capital campaign is that we want to pay down the mortgage by $1 million or even more. It depends on where it costs. The other part of it, it's $800,000 for the structural repairs. We can't run away from that. That just has to happen. And then a little over another $1 million, I believe, roofing on top of that.
Mike May, do you want to?
Yeah, Mike.
Best estimates we have.
Yeah.
You're good. You're good.
There it is.
The best estimates we have are to do everything on the roof will run somewhere between 1.7 and 2.1 million. Part of that includes is covered by an insurance recovery of $200,000 or $300,000. So that is a little bit more, I think, than was originally estimated. But on the low end, about 1.7. On the high end is perhaps as much as 2.2. If you add that all up, it comes to more than 3 million. One of the things that we'll be doing is looking for some national support from Frank Lloyd Wright groups, which we think we can probably get.
Yeah, so we actually had a grants group recently formed that is looking at the various grants we can apply for. We are talking about doing one of these, I keep forgetting what they call it, the fundraising campaigns like the Kickstarters.
A GoFundMe?
Like a GoFundMe type of a thing. So we're going to be looking for other sources to help us with this because if you do look, I mean, it's really quite kind of impressive. If you look at the top right buildings internationally, we're right there. So we believe that external funds should be able to be found.
And I think, Barb, if we could just clarify with Barb's question. So Matthew, help me, I'm trying to remember the back page. So the priorities of the campaign are the roof, and the prow and the heating in the landmark building, and in this building, the mortgage and solar and furnishings. So there's 6 priorities in this campaign, and if we hit the $3 million and the roof does come in at 2.2, then we're gonna have to figure out from what is remaining, how much to mortgage, how much to this and that. I don't think we have come to actual numbers on any of that. And the EVU Foundation did pay for the restoration of the prow. We did get a $100,000 grant from EVU for that prow work. And you know, everything we're thinking and we've been told is that the roof needs to happen first and then the prow. If the prow happens first and then you do the roof, you could damage the prow, and we don't want to do the prow twice if we can avoid it.
The overall structural issues, well, yeah. So, from what I remember, I mean, and I'll try to, Frank Lloyd Wright was a great designer. Engineer, I don't know about that. So, one of the biggest issues that we had is we have a huge expanse that is supported by a large beam over there that was supposed to have 2 large stone support columns that he took out at the last minute. Some other things he decided was, instead of using 2x6s, he went with 2x4s. Or anyway, he used smaller wood than what we actually wanted. I also went, truthfully, and this is probably not good to say, but if he only had a Lego set, when my boy was learning, both of my boys were learning how to use Legos, we taught about structure and how you have to support structure, and if you build up, you got to put more columns in here and there. I don't think they had Lego back then, I think is what the issue is. So that really it originally designed appropriately, but then last minute changes, which actually probably were partially because there were some funding issues back then, that he made it happen, and the way he made it happen wasn't great. And we've had several fixes that just weren't that great because no one really appreciated. So this fix is actually putting steel structure where we have wood right now. And the external roof is going to be held up by a steel structure. The current structure, all it's going to do is hold up the ceiling. So we're going to take a lot of load off of that. And the timing of this, so some people actually brought up, why do we need to do this so soon? From our structural engineers, we have been lucky that a heavy snowfall hasn't caused significant damage. And when we talk about significant damage, we're not just talking about to the structure. That could happen if it's at midnight, but what if it's at 4 p.m. and there are people in there? So this is something that is very urgent that we have to take care of, and that's why it's on the table now, part of this capital campaign, and that's why we're trying to do it. Yes, Elizabeth?
Yes, so just a few things. One, I'm just curious how many people are voting on this. So if we have a number, Monica was going to give us the number of total people who are signed in. I'd really like to know how many people are here to vote on this. We have 1,345 members, so I'm hoping that that's a good number of us are here and not just a teeny weeny percentage.
So Elizabeth, we do have quorum.
Great, we have a quorum. That's awesome. And I just want everybody to know, so if you think that the new copper roof is going to turn green and look gorgeous, copper doesn't turn green anymore. So just so you know, it'll be a dark brown in the future. And then that's it. Thanks.
And let me just put in a plug quick for if you haven't watched the roof forum video that is online and you want to know more, the roof team did an amazing job going through what's the structural damage, what needs to happen, more information than we could ever tell you now. So that is on the YouTube. You can watch the whole forum.
And also, Dave.
My name's Dave Weber, and I've been on the committee. And if people have further structural or material questions, I'll be out at the roof table after this meeting and fill you in on how nails work loose after 60 years.
What happens if the capital campaign can't raise the needed amount with this recommendation?
That's a great question. I think that's a bridge we cross.
Yeah.
When we cross it. We're assuming that the capital campaign is going to go quite well. So that's a good question. We'll deal when we deal. Yeah.
In your letter in the newsletter, you mentioned that the cost to go with copper was, I believe, $650,000 more than going with some conventional method.
I believe
Is
so,
that
yes.
correct?
More than asphalt.
Yeah.
More than, okay, I don't think you specified asphalt, but you said something. So this entire, the structural cost will be one thing, the roof, the 1.7 to 2.2 million, that includes the structural fix as well?
Yes.
And what portion of that 2.2 is the structure about?
800,000, isn't it?
800,000. Okay, so 1.4 million for the rest versus 825,000 for conventional roof. So $650,000 more for copper versus something that might look like copper or...
No. Something that looks like copper is just 100,000 or so less. That was painted steel.
The 650 is the difference between asphalt and copper. The difference between painted steel and copper is between 90 and 100,000.
Yeah, it's a very small number. And will show blemishes more, apparently.
I guess the question, but first an observation. I think the building was probably designed by Wright in 1942 or 3 or 4 during the middle of World War II. Earlier? Later. So he designed it overnight and we built it in 1948. But my point is that the material that was available post-war was very limited. As I understand it, some of the material we couldn't even use more expensive, good quality copper because it didn't exist or was being used for other purposes. The copper that's being we're talking about now is almost double or triple the thickness, as I understand it.
2 times? Double?
Double? Okay, that's pretty good. So it means it probably would last at least twice as long. And if I understand copper compared to the other material we were talking about, my roof is guaranteed for 30 years, and I got a good one.
Yeah.
I don't know how we can get good shingles that are guaranteed to last 60 or 70 years.
Yep. And apparently
That's
it's
my point.
copper, it's 100. 80 years. Steel, it's what, 60? 60 about?
So I think it would be helpful, but I don't know how to do it, would be to figure out how to amortize those expenses over the period of time that the material.
That actually was done, and
Okay.
it came out that copper was the less expensive.
Thank you very much.
Option. Yeah. Because we'd be looking at replacing the asphalt, I think, after about 30 years or so.
This was an analysis done by Sam Lawrence of Findorf, looking at the life expectancy. Copper is the most expensive, painted steel next, asphalt shingles Bermuda style next, asphalt shingles plain next. When you add in life expectancy, the most expensive are asphalt shingles Bermuda style, approximately $40,000 a year. Next is plain asphalt, $20,000. Painted steel is about $16,000. The cost per year for copper, about $12,500.
Yeah, so for the long term, we won't be here to replace it and appreciate all of that, but we're trying to do this right this time. Oh, yes. Okay. No, we're actually trying to record. I forgot. We're supposed to be using these.
Well, I'm just concerned that may lose people before we vote on this very important thing, and I'm just, if people don't have something totally new and compelling to add, I'm suggesting we move ahead.
That's fair. Yes, and the roof team is available for answering. And again, we do have the hour-and-a-half-long roof forum online. That's pretty easy. So let's, I guess, put it to the vote. Okay, so the motion is to accept the Board of Trustees' recommendation to complete structural roof repairs and the installation of a new copper roof on Landmark and Loja. We've had all the motions, the first and second, so all in favor? Aye. All opposed?
No.
I don't think so, because that's... We can do I think we can do a voice, just like we did in the legislature. There's a need to count.
If you're a no, raise your hand. Three. I'm getting three.
4.
Am I missing? 4.
All right. 5. Okay. Oh. Thank you.
Abstentions? 1, 2, 3. I've got 3. Does that feel right?
All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. I do want to highlight, we have discussed this quite a bit at the board level. We have been trying our best to represent all membership, because that's our job, not so much our personal opinions, but what we feel the membership would like us to do. And that's why we voted this way. So thank you very much. I think we're going to be ready for the closing.
Okay, I'm keeping it short because I know you want to get out of here. So our closing words: in this world of ours, we need to remember, no matter how tired or how frightened we may feel, we each have gifts that can make a difference in the world. In this coming week, may you do at least one thing to support the broken, to welcome the stranger, to celebrate what is worthy, to do the work of justice and love. Be strong, be connected, each day act, so you and the world may be a little more whole. Thank you for coming.